So, today I'll be talking about the circumstances around the creation of Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. Okay, so there's this god giant thing, maybe both, in Norse mythology. He once escaped a prison and went entirely unnoticed. You could say that he was Loki. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Anyways, Loki is like the ultimate jokester that would just take things way too far. Like, he would be the kind of guy who would destroy your entire village and say, it's just a prank, bro. Look, right there. There's a poet inscribing all of this into an Edda. Anyways, I'm getting off track. So, Thor has a wife whose name is Sif, and she's got this wonderful, amazing looking golden hair. So Loki sneaks into her bedroom one night, which is creepy as hell, and decides to snip those locks and dump them somewhere. Doesn't even do something with them. Rather wasteful, if you ask me. So Sif wakes up the next morning and she is noticeably and super distressed. I should probably stop with these. So everyone pretty much instantly knows that it's Loki because no one else would ever do something so rash or stupid. So Thor goes stomping off to Loki in his big boots and threatens him with God knows what. Him being a god, he probably knew, and Loki just kind of apologizes and says, let me get your wife some replacement hair from the secondhand store. And Thor, being rather humorless, gets this thundering look in his eyes, and Loki goes, okay, look, I'm just joking. I'll get some top-notch dwarves on it. So Loki goes to these dwarves called the Sons of Ivaldi. No relation to Vivaldi. I think. I hope. That would be kind of strange. And being the clever sort and knowing that dwarves are also very arrogant, he said that he really did not think that the dwarves could make hair as good as Sif's. The dwarves, who were not the clever sort and actually arrogant, not only made the hair for Sif, but also two other items. The first, they're not actually in any particular order, but for the sake of storytelling and the fact that I can't actually say two words at once, I have to order them. It was Skidbladnir, a ship that can fold into one's pocket. How a ship could possibly fold into one's pocket, I don't understand. But we'll just say magic, right? That's generally how things work in mythology. And this ship was bestowed upon Freyr, the god of war. The Sons of Vivaldi also created Gungnir, a spear that would never miss, which Odin took for himself. And Odin always just took the nicest things for himself, really. And since he was omniscient and wise and everything, I guess everyone just always went along with it. Maybe he was just greedy, though. So Loki filled his hands with these three wonderful things. And as he returned to the gods, he came upon the dwarf brothers Brock and Cinder. Being a bit boastful himself, he bet that the two dwarves could never create things as wonderful as those created by the Sons of Vivaldi. In a moment of what can only be really described as sheer madness, he bet his head on it. In reality, you should never really bet your head on something in mythology. It is almost guaranteed that you will lose it being mythology and all. So Cinder, I forgot, I don't actually know how these words are supposed to be pronounced. I just kind of look at them and hope that I don't completely and utterly destroy them. So, yeah, so Cinder began his work on his own trio of magical items, while Brocker worked the bellows of the forge. Loki, being the sort that wants to keep his head like most people, turned himself into a gadfly and began to bite and harass Brocker at the bellows. The first item they formed in the forge was Golembursti. Golembursti was a living boar, and it had golden bristles. And the golden bristles could be shed and give off this wonderful light. And it could fly. Yeah, a flying golden bristled boar. Lots of characteristics. It might have been manual drive as well, I don't know. Loki bit Brocker in the hand while he did his part in stoking the fire, but Brocker did not stop. Next was Draupnir, the ring of Odin. It was a ring made of gold that every 9 days dropped 8 nice gold rings. You could say that it was the lord of those rings. Draupnir would eventually be placed in the funeral pyre of the amazing god of light Balder, who Loki sort of killed out of spite, with a guy named Hoder. Hoder. Loki bit the neck of Brocker while he pumped the bellows, like the really not so nice gadfly that he was, but Brocker gritted his teeth and did his job. And then Cinder created his masterpiece. But as he worked it into form, Loki bit the face of Brocker. And this time it was too much for the poor dwarf, so he yelped and let go for a moment. And so, Cinder's creation has a flaw. Mjolnir has a flaw. It can summon lightning and never break and always hit its target. We learn from Greek myth that such a thing is not actually always good, and be thrown yet always return to the hand of its wielder. But Mjolnir's handle is too short. In truth, Cinder had wanted Mjolnir to be a dual-handed weapon, but the fact that Brocker had to stop for a moment and wipe his face means that the handle is only large enough for a single hand. On the bright side, it means that Thor can probably hold a shield in his other hand and get some extra defense stats. Regardless of this single flaw, it was unanimously, and much to Loki's horror, decided that Brocker and Cinder's gifts were superior. And that Loki's head was to be given to Brocker and Cinder. Of course, Loki, as a plot device for many more terrible things to come, had to come up with a loophole. And that was that he had only promised his head and that they would not be given an inch of his neck. So they couldn't really take his head off. At this, the gods laughed and agreed, because I guess at this point most of Loki's tricks had been rather harmless, and he did every now and then provide useful advice. So Brocker, kind of pissed that he'd been bitten all over by Loki, claimed Loki's head and sewed his mouth shut. At this, the gods laughed even harder, for Loki was prone to insulting them. A lot. And they were happy for some peace and quiet for once. But deep down at this laughter, something in Loki boiled, and he began to think dark thoughts in his mind. Oh, and the hair fit perfectly on Siv's head. Apparently it was even better than before. So that's nice. So, as lessons, don't cut off people's hair, don't ever bend your head, and trust dwarves to make very, very useful, very strange things, like boats that will fit into your pocket. I guess I have enough time for another quick little story. So, Thor once had his hammer Mjolnir stolen by a giant named Thrym. Thrym held Mjolnir ransom, saying that he would only return Mjolnir if he got to wed Freya. Now, Freya is like the Norse Aphrodite. She's like the goddess everyone wants, and she does some strange things, like ride in a chariot pulled by cats. Now, how cats manage to pull a full chariot, I will never know, but once again, mythology? I think that just might be my default explanation for things that don't make any sense. Anyways, the gods are like, well, we don't really want to give her away, but Mjolnir will be the best weapon at Ragnarok. Oh, that was one of the reasons Cinder and Brocker were claimed the victors, because the gods really, really wanted to win Ragnarok, so, I mean, who wants to lose the big climactic battle? battle at the end and dominion of the realm. So, um, anyways, yeah, they really valued Mjolnir. But Freya's like, if you think I'm gonna get married to some stupid giant, you guys are all crazy. But Loki is clever, see? So he says, all right, instead let's get Thor all dressed up as Freya, and then he can sneak in and get the really good lightning hammer that is very useful, and we can defeat the giants. So Thor has to go cross-dress and go as the most beautiful goddess to a wedding feast. A rather difficult task, one might imagine. But to make it seem like it's Thor for sure, he gets to wear this super fancy, pretty feather cloak that only Freya wears to help him complete the illusion. And of course, Thor complains, but everyone just kind of goes, you kind of really need that hammer and you lost it in the first place, so go get dressed as a bride. And so Thor grumbles, but he goes and does it anyways. So at the feast, Thor has a bit of an appetite. When I say bit, he eats an entire ox and several fish. Yeah. And the giants just kind of gawk at the supposed Freya, because I guess female goddesses don't eat as much as male gods, or maybe Thor is just a one-of-a-kind glutton. Regardless, Loki comes up with the really lame excuse that Freya was so excited for the wedding that she had not eaten for several days, which satisfied the giants, who were not the brightest bunch, really. And as Thrym goes to kiss his bride, he sees red, venomous eyes. I suppose this probably had something to do with Thor being angry that Mjolnir was stolen, as well as the fact that he was spending a perfectly good wedding dressed as a woman. The bride, no less. And at this, Thrym recoiled, but Loki just said, look, that's simply the excitement and eagerness that Freya has been bottling up since she had heard that you wanted to marry her. And Thrym was pleased at this, and the giants, still being not that smart, all just nodded and accepted it. And as the ceremony itself opened, they brought out Mjolnir for Loki to return to the gods. But then Thor totally broke standard wedding etiquette and took off his veil before the kiss had been announced. What a real, true break of propriety. Oh, and then he grabbed his trusty Mjolnir and slew all the giants at the feast. I think that might have been the bigger thing, but I'm not sure. All in all, a pretty good wedding feast. For the gods, at least. And I suppose every now and then Loki probably laughs at Thor and reminds him that he once got dressed as a bride, at which Thor's face darkens like a storm. I think that'll be it for today. I hope you enjoyed listening. Thank you.